My name is Atambo Janai, in charge of climate change and environmental issues here in Kenya, Rift Valley region. And we have been having issues where most of the farmers are transitioning from the traditional crops. And this is because of climate change and because of unpredictable rains, and sometimes we have experienced prolonged drought, making most farmers to change. Because initially we have seen farmers planting plants like sorghum, millet, sweet potatoes. But now that these plants mostly rely on heavy rains, we have had change in the patterns. Most people are now transitioning to crops like yams and cassava that can at least resist or that can grow even if the rains are not that much. We have also seen farmers that are trying irrigation, but this is now becoming, it's a little bit more expensive when it comes to the common mwananchi. In Kenya we call them mwananchi. And these farmers, as a department, we have tried to give them the knowledge on ways of using technology to ensure that at least people never lack food. In Kenya and Africa at large, and Rift Valley in specific, we rely much on farming. This is what gives our country life. And if farmers could shift, and others even decide not to do farming because of these issues, we may realize that we may have a food crisis in this country. So these environmental issues, in addition with the climate change issues, you realize that this is an issue that we cannot leave untouched. And that is why we are working really hard and calling upon all the farmers to ensure that at least we adopt the new technological methods to ensure that we get food. And we ensure that also farmers don't get losses because of the change of patterns of the rains.
Okay, Mr. Atambo, a year ago or some months ago, Kenya experienced adverse floods. I don't know if that was predicted, and if it was predicted, what was the measures put in place by your office to ensure that farmers are protected from the effects of the floods?
In a year or so ago, as a country, we experienced a crisis of floods, and we could not say that floods are good indicators when it comes to farming issues. Instead, most of the farmers had their crops destroyed. They had issues of soil erosion, which now even makes the fertility of the soil to deteriorate. And this really brought an issue to us as a country and to the farmers at large. So we had to adopt new ways and introduce at least fertilizers that have more nutrients that could help the soil to regain its previous nutrients that had been lost because the floods lasted for quite a long time and it was unpredictable. Most farmers were not prepared for the floods, and we thank God it never took everything, but it brought a bit challenging issues which we were in a position to cover. I could say that a good 99% of the farmers have gotten over it, and our soils are now back to normal, and our climate can now be predicted as compared to the previous times.
Now, your jurisdiction, that is Rift Valley, Kenya, which months can we regard as planting seasons? And are these months same as the months in 10 years or 20 years back? Are we planting, like for example, if we planted in March, did we plant it in March in 10 years ago?
It is evident that indeed we are experiencing issues of climate change, and climate change is becoming a more serious issue right now because initially farmers could predict and say now, by this month of January, we will have some drought. So by April, we'll have rains, so that will be the planting season. Then by August again, we will be having rain. And maybe by this other month, we'll be having dry seasons for harvesting, etc. But you realize that these days, the climate is unpredictable. You realize that in the past 1 week, we have experienced rains. A good part of April, there were no rains. And this is now becoming even more serious because these patterns are becoming now different even within a region. You realize that within the Rift Valley, in January we might be experiencing or having rains in Eldoret, for example, but there are no rains in Nandi. There are no rains in Nakuru, which is adjacent. So you realize that these rains again are making the patterns become a little bit more small, to the extent that one area, a small area of a few kilometers, experiencing rains, but the immediate neighboring places are experiencing issues of drought. So I think that is why we are calling upon our people in the country, in the region, and even the entire world. Let's embark on planting trees. Trees are very key when it comes to issues of drought. They help us to get rain. But when we are having issues of deforestation without planting trees again, you realize that our farmers get hard time to get these basic crops that are meant to provide food for our population. Yes.
Thank you so much, and wish you the best in your office as you engage farmers in terms of climate change and environmental issues.
So I say thank you also, and we are encouraging our farmers that let us ensure that we protect our soil. Let us protect our environment. That is where we are getting our foods from. So that moment we have environmental degradation issues, we are having issues of soil erosion, and people are not bothering. It is becoming an issue as a country. So I urge all farmers that as we embark on agriculture, as we embark on farming, which is the greatest achievement we can make as a region, let us ensure that we do the right thing. We have had issues of misuse of fertilizers, and we encourage our farmers to at least be joining our seminars when we are offering these classes to ensure that we teach you on the best methods you can use to do farming, especially those in the arid and the semi-arid areas.